Hey, I think we're live.
Yes.
Boys and girls, weather report for the February 5th. Who wrote that? Anyway, so this one is about big problems. So the one thing I noticed with Sal Cordova when he debated,
Anyway,
who was it
so
against?
this one is
Doom?
big problems.
Oh, what happened? My audio is on here.
So
I didn't know it. There.
Okay, so he debated Sphincter of Doom, and then I started thinking about it, and then I listened to a little bit of the after show, and what these guys are always doing is they're always talking about evolution has a problem. There's a problem. There's a problem. There's a water paradox. There's this. There's that. There's this problem. So then I went and looked. I went and read that book, Stairway to Life, that Sal Cordova keeps recommending, and all she did was list problem after problem after problem. Now, I don't think that is the way it is fucking done. What I'm reading this abiogenesis
Depends
paper,
on what you're trying to do.
Deemer and Dahmer, and they list problems for abiogenesis, but they also try to find solutions to the problems. These guys never try to find solutions to the problem. That's all
Maybe
they
they'll
do.
want
They
to.
link the papers that have the problems, and they never link any papers that present solutions to the problems. And I'm thinking that is kind of in a nutshell what is wrong, what I find wrong with the ID, with Sal Cordova, with Standing for Truth, with all of them. That's all they ever do is try to poke holes in the theory, and they forget to link all the shit or read the parts of the paper where they propose how you fix these problems, how these problems might be gotten around. Anyway, so that's why I did the icon. Big problem. That's all they are. They are the big problem.
And do you suppose that maybe they don't realize there are solutions being offered, or maybe that they want other people to think there are no solutions being offered? I mean,
I think it's wishful thinking on their parts, or they have already so thoroughly decided that the Bible is truth and fact. Genesis is a literal science book that they don't even consider that there's a universe where there could be a solution.
so is it possible then? Is maybe what you're getting at that maybe they're just implying that the Bible is the solution being offered?
Yeah, and they call us biased. I don't know. Yes. It just blows me away, and it's like, how can you call us biased when you read, any paper that we will read and digest, we talk about both problems and solutions. In fact, the papers are where they're getting the fucking problems, right? Well, I mean, they're reading the same science, and it's just
something that I wish would be brought to such people's attention more often is that, even if they're right and their God has all the answers, the Adam and Eve story should tell them very clearly how likely it is that their God is going to want to let them have the answer. I mean, the whole fall of mankind was all about Adam and Eve disobeying in order not to eat the fruit that would give them answer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that is an interesting observation. But I don't read the Bible much, so I think I did start to read Genesis about 12 years ago, and then I read the second Genesis, and it was like the same story all over again. What the fuck is that about?
The second Genesis?
Well, yeah, there's one part where they talk about how the earth was, how everything was created, and then it starts over. There's two different stories.
Chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the book of Genesis have two different creation stories.
Wow.
But not really like picking up where, not like chapter 2 picking up where chapter 1 left off. They described the same things happening in two different orders.
But the fundamentalists, who are a very small, thin slice of the Christian community, they try to say, their apologists will try to say, well, see, the first chapter was just an overview, and the second chapter is just details. And so that's how they get around it, I guess, to try to soothe the cognitive dissonance there.
Yeah, when I was
Or
when I
the
was
other way around.
when I was a little boy, I had this this atheist uncle who was a hobo, and he would always come and he'd sit me down when I was like 6 years old, and he'd say, "You know, the Bible is full of shit." And he'd tell me about the two different Genesis stories. So I remember that, and then he'd start telling me all the other contradictions in the Bible. So that was like when I was really young.
I'm guessing your theist relatives hated the guy.
Oh yeah, they used to throw. He'd come and live with us for like 2 weeks, and my dad would get pissed off at him and throw him out. He was a cool uncle.
I've avoided doing that with my nieces and nephews because I know how my family would feel about it, and it's like, okay, well, feel sorry for them.
I think it's almost a moral obligation. I don't know.
Yeah, well, me too, but I also feel it's not my place. If it was somebody else's kids, I might feel different about that. But, being family, it's like, we got our differences.
Well, everybody else in my life felt it was their place to brainwash me about Christianity when I was 6 years old. My Uncle Ralph was the only one that felt it was his place to actually tell me another side of the story. And I have, even though he was a bum and like a hobo, right? He used to hitch trains and go pick fruit and then go to Las Vegas and spend all his money. And he never amounted to anything in the, according to my father. He was my favorite uncle. He was intelligent, and he talked to me about things that were interesting, and he told me shit. So I don't know. So maybe, there's a place for those kind of uncles that nobody else likes. The kids will like them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know why anybody teaches kids the whole Christian religion thing, because it's like, why, we have one life that we know we have. Why teach them that they should be in a hurry to get out of it and move on to the next?
Yeah,
which we don't even know is there.
Well, we teach them about Santa Claus at that age.
Yeah, but the Santa Claus story doesn't encourage them to leave this life and move on to another one. Right. I mean, there is no, if you do such and such, Santa Claus will, take you with him to the North Pole.
Yeah. That wouldn't be Santa Claus, child abductor.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they were being taught the Santa Claus story with the added detail of, if you wait outside in the cold when it's snowing all night long, that Santa Claus might, see you there and bring you to the North Pole where you'll have presents, 365 days a year. How many children would freeze to death waiting for Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Because he'd never show up.
Wow. Some reason. Say something. Oh, I know what's wrong. God, StreamYard, you are such a tool. StreamYard's a tool. StreamYard's a tool.
No,
it's repeating on speed.
What?
I think you mean it in a different way.
StreamYard's a tool. StreamYard's a tool. StreamYard's a tool.
StreamYard is a tool.
What do you think about StreamYard there, Speed?
I think it's a tool.
Okay. Can I quote you on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Not right now, though.
Not right now. Yeah, it's probably not good. It's probably not drawing in listeners.
We probably
saturated about
saturated
your feelings about StreamYard.
We probably or Leo. Well, we could get Leo on to tell us how he feels about StreamYard.
He does it with a little more emotion.
If you just quoted it in Twitter, without context, I don't think it would cause any harm.
Because technically, StreamYard is a tool. Yeah,
it is a tool.
It's a horrible thing.
that could be taken more than one way. And if anybody wants to know which way it was meant, they're welcome to like join the live stream and throw a question in the chat or something.
Somebody's got a big thumpy bass sort of scrapey noise going on. Is that you, Dak?
It could be the microphone scraping or something.
It might be this. Is that doing it?
That's
it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, try to fix that.
Holy shit! Let's try to mute you while you fix that.
How well, because I can't hear the other end.
So I guess one thing we need to mention is our paper trail presentation tonight.
Yeah, you guys are gonna make me do that. Okay, so
you don't have to. You don't have to. I'm just suggesting it.
So I got you on mute, Dak. At 5 o'clock, we're gonna do. Yeah, at 5 o'clock we're gonna do part 2, and at 7 o'clock we are gonna do part 3. And I'm hoping I only edited the very ends of part 3. We had nothing in the middle that had to go right. I got my raccoon feeding incident out of part 2. And I don't think we have anything else, so I don't know. So I'm just going to let it roll. I hope we didn't embarrass ourselves. But,
yeah, me too. I really hate to hear myself.
I know.
Which is why I rarely replay these things, but I guess I'll listen.
Yeah, I actually listened to it while it was playing last time and commented. And that is it really is hard for me to listen to myself because I believe I have a pretty bad speech defect.
It makes me almost physically ill.
Yeah, I know. Anyway.
But, sorry, what are we talking about?
Me? No, you.
Is the Cell Really a Machine paper by Daniel J. Nicholson.
Yeah.
Basically read through it and made comments off and on.
Speaking of tools.
StreamYard's a tool.
I mean,
this guy.
No, hold on. If anything, wait, no. Who can I make fun of? I don't know. Moving on.
Okay. I wanted to. We're not going to get through a whole lot, but I was going to play a little. I guess I got to unmute my site. God. Okay. I'm not sure if I shared the audio on this. Son of a bitch. Share screen. Yeah. Am I talking out loud? Did I say that out loud?
Yes.
Fuck.
Oh, that's okay. It's adorable.
Kill. Am I still saying it out loud?
Yes.
Yeah, the kill part. Yeah, you might not want to say that out loud. You might want to keep that inside your skull.
Oh, God damn it. I hate that when it slips out. Anyway. So there was a little part by Cell Cordova here. I think it was. Let's see if I went too far. Well, I could start it at 4011 and just see what Cell has to say. Wow, that was cool. Okay, go ahead.
There's kind of like a very large silent minority that kind of realize this is phenomenal. So
he's talking about the scientists that don't speak up against evolution and speak out for ID.
Boo-hoo.
The ones that I don't get are probably of Immutable's temperament. It's like, don't you see it? And he was saying, it's just chemistry. You don't need intelligent agency. And I tried to counter that. I said, you need intelligent agency to build the environment. That's why you have chemical engineers. You're not going to get the reactions unless you have, like you were saying, the tools. So I don't try to get it. I don't.
Well, and with Immutable, one of the things that just blows my mind, again, this goes back to do they stop at the actual investigation, right? Are they actually continuing to investigate the new discoveries, or are they only just reiterating the exact same talking points? That's what I feel. That's why I feel. And case in point, like,
isn't that amazing that he's saying that we don't investigate the new discoveries?
Yeah, I don't know which ones they're talking about. Of course, it may be these new statements by Carter and Sanford and some guy, isn't he from like Harvard or something? I don't know. But anyway.
Jensen is, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And but I don't know what new is being said. I mean,
As soon as I found out Jensen went to Harvard, I have
You had a heart attack.
I had a very low opinion of Harvard. Very low. I mean, Harvard is shit. Maybe they turn out good lawyers, but I don't think much of them anymore after hearing Jensen got a degree there.
I was watching a lecture last night from, I think, 2 years ago, and they were talking about some of their experiments with epigenetic tagging in a mouse and how it's the tagging and removing the capacity for the tagging directly compromised the body plan. So we're not talking about anything being changed in the genes. We're talking about the inability to apply the tagging after.
I don't know. Anyway, I haven't listened much further than that, but I just wanted to play that part about Sell where he thinks that there's this conspiracy, whatever, or this silent majority that agrees with him, and then the part about Maddox where he's kind of pushing back on us reading the new material. What does he think we read? Does he think we go back and read like papers from 20, 30 years ago? I don't know what he's saying. It doesn't make any sense to me. But
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So then at the beginning, so Maddox has challenged me over and over again to do comebacks on his videos. And I keep looking at his videos trying to, I mean, am I crazy or does he not make any real arguments? I mean, what am I missing? I thought maybe
an observation, and I'm not sure, how much, if this is the case or what, but just an observation. I've noticed, people that go on the anti-science side basically usually are not very aware of just how much science is out there. And so, if you're talking about, like, is he thinking we're reading papers from 20 or 30 years ago? Well, we probably are, but it's a small portion of what we're reading as opposed to, like, that's all there is. And if he thinks that's all there is, then that's probably all he thinks we're reading.
Yeah, could be.
Because the stuff that exposes their nonsense as nonsense is sort of off limits to, like everybody who wants to keep believing the nonsense. And they tend not to pass that stuff around much.
So he had a talk with this guy, and it starts right here, and I thought maybe we go over it. But hi, Amy. I've been trying to lure you onto my channel since my channel started.
Hey, Leo.
Hi there, and it feels good to be on.
Good.
I know. I had a problem where I had to really wrangle in my email, but now I have good control of my email, and I'm talking to people. And hi, everyone.
Cool.
Hello.
Good to meet you.
I love your debates. I just absolutely love the way.
No. Speed.
Yeah.
You love her,
Hey.
not her debates.
Yeah, whatever.
See, he
by the way,
admits it.
As a daughter, as a daughter, I'm a little old to be loving on girls right now.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, so I thought we'd play. Okay, there's. I think it lasts for 3 minutes. God, is that all he lasts? Let me double check this.
By the way, Amy, I
No, it goes a little further.
did hear back from Aaron, and he did say he would be interested, but he thought I meant today as far as that project goes, and he doesn't have time today. I haven't heard back from him yet as far as when he would be available.
Okay.
What are you guys doing?
I'm open.
You're not invited, Leo.
I don't care. I
Is it
want to
going
know.
to be?
I
what
was
you're
joking.
doing.
Is the debate review, the debate commentary,
Yeah.
Well, so we're going to be watching the Kent Hovind debate and kind of really digging down, kind of breaking through the Gish Gallop.
Yeah. Kent decided he will not debate me, so since
But you're
since
so
there wasn't
lovable. Why
time-
not?
because he has no defense against the truth, and I won't refrain myself, from going to the whole truth. He's not ready for somebody who's willing to address more than just biological evolution. That's why he goes into the misdefining of evolution in other categories, in order to prevent anybody from addressing the fact that evolution is ubiquitous and not only in biology.
No,
So
I
yeah,
agree.
he won't debate me again. He lost badly, and he knows it, and he knows he can't win, and
I
he can't
mean,
So
to be
he
who's
can't
fair,
even get people
Donald.
he can't even get the people he's fooled to believe that he won.
To be fair, Donald, I wouldn't debate you again either. Ah,
okay?
Yeah,
I'm just
I've never
joshing you.
actually I have debated quite a few times. It's been decades since I've done so, and part of the reason is because no one would debate me a second time. I've never had anyone debate me a second time. Even when I
You
was,
might.
when I had a philosophy major in college, and I was debating on a regular basis, nobody would debate me a second time, um, because I would not pick a side of a debate that I couldn't defend, and they knew that. And those that didn't know it off the bat, they found out the first time they debated me or watched me debate someone else.
So in other
I'm
words, you're
not.
undefeated.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I have to say, Kent Hovind, um, conceding in his opening statement was probably the fastest I've ever won a debate. Considering his opening statement came before mine, so I hadn't even begun my opening statement, and I won the debate.
Let's play a little John Maddox.
There
Okay,
you
remember
go. Wrong guy.
foreskin is a safe word, and no fucking 11 skin or whatever you guys are doing yesterday. I will throw you out of the channel.
I could just leave it at one and just say skin.
Foreskin,
So what about like skin squared?
no. Stop it.
Double two skin.
What about the sign of F of skin?
Fucking people. What'd you say, Amy?
What? I accidentally said foreskin popcorn last night in the
I heard
in the
that.
stream.
I
But
think I
that is
heard that.
Donald's fault. I blame Donald.
Yeah, I was on Jay's stream, and then I popped over and listened to you guys for just a little while. And
Wouldn't that be more like pork rinds?
Yeah, when I
That
saw you
might
talking
be.
there, I figured you're gonna get a laugh out of that. That she's using foreskin because I mentioned it from in here when we were
I know
incrementing the number.
it's
of
going to
skins.
spread, and you know what? No, I don't think any of us can remember how it started. I have no idea how this shit started, but it became our safe word for stopping videos.
I think there was a Saturday night at the Atheist some time back where that got started. But do you really want to go back through all those videos just to figure out?
No.
Yeah,
Well, it was particularly humorous in the context of that we're discussing the Bible and reading Bible passages, because I was telling Amy, I said, if this becomes a regular thing, people who don't know about where it got started or how it got started or what it's being used for are liable to think, wow, there's a lot more foreskins in the Bible than I realized.
I'll be in the nursing home when I'm 90 years old saying they invented that on my channel, and it'll be like a thing that's completely everybody uses, right?
Was it David or Samson who kind of harvested a bunch of foreskins?
And probably nobody will believe you.
Yeah, I know. It's like, hey, it's crazy old man. Anyway,
I get that with the common usage of the word dude. I get that with that, because I actually started that usage years ago after I had gotten amnesia as an experiment, because I knew I had been a linguist, I knew I had been a language inventor, and I had no clue how to get started back into that, and how I did it the first time. I was trying to work that out, so I invented a bunch of English words as an experiment, and one of them was DOOD, dude, and it was an Epicene version of the words grizz and grog, which were two other words I invented for the feminine and masculine, respectively, of the same thing. Dude was spelled DOOD, and I was using these words, but the the gender-based ones I didn't use much because I didn't think much in that sense. I preferred the epicene, and so that one caught on big time, and people were making fun of it. They're saying like I'm not dude, he's dude, or she's not dude, I'm dude, or he's not dude, I'm dude, and because I was using it because I had amnesia, I was using it as a way to get around the fact that everybody knew me and I didn't know anybody, so I couldn't call people by name.
Okay,
so
here it
was
is.
like a replacement for names, but yeah, it
Yeah.
ended up respelled, and a lot of females assumed they had to make a feminine version of it because they assumed it to be masculine.
Ian Chen invented it. I remember it now. It was somebody said foresight, and Ian Chen was screwing around, and he said foreskin, and it stuck. So that was it.
It just makes sense that Ian would be behind it.
Ian is behind most good things on this channel.
Oh, damn that Ian.
So anyway, okay, can I play this?
Ian is our Steve.
Okay, this is Maddox being gracious to a guest and making great arguments. So I don't know. It's going to last maybe about 5 minutes. We'll see if we have the patience.
Wait, which Steve?
Unless you're just going to operate from the perspective that there is no, there is nothing that is implausible. Everything is 100% possible, even if nobody's actually doing it. It's like the whole aspect I was making the whole conversation I was having the other day about like, if you stick a nut and a bolt next to each other, is it remotely plausible that the freaking nut's going to put itself on the bolt and tighten it all the way down? And then we're like, well, maybe it's possible.
Okay.
Okay, that is the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my life, John.
But that's the only argument he's ever made. That is his argument. That a nut cannot get on a bolt.
So he actually repeated that from earlier from earlier discussions.
Yeah,
but what if
it's kind of the only thing he ever really says. So
what if I magnetize the nut in the bolt?
Yeah.
Hey, Leo, quit using
He'd
logic.
throw you off his channel if that happened. Anyway, so then he gets this. I forget what his name is.
And it's really not black to use science either.
I guess it's Abiogenesis open discussion. So I'm guessing that you are a creationist. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is an after show for a 2.5 hour
shit,
debate
Danny's here
on the topic. That's why it's called an after show.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that part of it, but yeah. So I'm assuming you're a creationist. You, from what I just heard you talk about the probability of things happening, and if that's someone's worldview, then
actually I didn't use the word probability. I said plausibility.
Everybody's a creationist of one form.
Well,
everybody's a creationist of one form or another.
No, I'm not.
Because we all believe it happened. It's just how it happened.
Oh God, Jungle George, is somebody in me?
Not creation.
That's the question of how you're defining creationist.
What's your worldview? What's your stance?
Well, you're the one coming into my stream, so you can talk about yourself. This is, you don't get to come and do interrogations with me after you say that I'm one of those guys. So you can expound upon yourself.
He just like this and his live stream, just to prove his territory.
Did you forget to say foreskin?
No, I literally said it twice.
No, I forgot to say it, and I do apologize, Speed, and I apologize to everybody listening because I really shouldn't have done that.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is, notice here how Mad Max does not want people. He doesn't want people coming in and interrogating him. Who said anything about interrogating? You don't want people coming in and asking you questions about your worldview. Are you that?
Here's the thing. This guy came in and he he's been in for about 30 seconds. He was very nice to John, and then John started.
Wait, no, he wasn't. He said you're one of those guys. He was being aggressive.
No, he never said that.
He did say that. Replay it.
It's still not being aggressive.
Sure. That's so condescending. If I came in here and said, "Oh, you're one of those guys,"
hold on,
Okay, let's listen. Let's see if he says one of those guys. I know John accused him of that, but let's see if he actually said it, because I couldn't find it.
May or may not have been meant that way.
And then the things fall together.
Yeah. Okay, we got somebody named Fozy who just joined the stream. What's going on, Fozy?
Yo, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
We can.
Not very well.
He said, "What's up, guys?"
Pretty good. Were you watching the stream over on Sal's channel?
No, I wasn't, unfortunately, but I just seen your stream go live, so I thought I'll join in and contribute. I don't know, see what's up, what's happening.
Okay, so do you know what the conversation was about?
Based off your title, I guess it's Abiogenesis Open Discussion, so I'm guessing that you are a creationist. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is an after show for a 2.5 hour debate that just happened on the topic. That's why it's called an after show.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that part of it, but yeah. So I'm assuming you're a creationist. You, from what I just heard you talk about the probability of things are happening, and if that's someone's worldview, then
Actually, I didn't use the word probability. I said plausibility.
Foreskin.
Everybody's a creationist of one.
Okay, Danny, where the hell did he say you?
He just said it. Are y'all deaf?
Hold
I didn't hear it. I was
hold
listening
on.
very
He
intently,
said,
and I didn't hear it.
he said, but he said, based on the conversation, he said that you're a Christian. There's a difference between saying you're one of those.
Let me relay it. He said, so the LPP said that I did not say probable, I said plausible. And then that guy said, oh, you're one of those guys. Listen.
You are a creationist. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is an after show for a 2.5 hour debate that just happened on the topic. That's why it's called an after show.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that part of it, but yeah. So I'm assuming you're a creationist. You, from what I just heard you talk about the probability of things are happening, and if that's someone's worldview, then
Actually, I didn't use the word probability. I said plausibility.
Everybody's a creationist of one form.
Okay, so he did say that.
Everybody's a
So one of what guys? What was he referring to?
He was being. It sounded pedantic to him, right? That there was to distinguish.
Okay, you can
probability
barely hear him. Has John been nice to him so far? You think?
Yes.
Oh, really?
No,
oh, really?
not really.
What did he say? What did he say? What did he say that y'all are so motivated? It's
Are you
insane.
listening to his fucking voice?
You know what? I'm
Oh
not in the
my
mood for
God.
this. Where the
shut
fuck
up.
is the exit?
Okay, so
But yourself. This is, you don't get to come and do interrogations with me after you say that I'm one of those guys. So you can expound upon yourself.
But I did have a
then we
question
get
for
back
Danny.
in
Is
further discussion.
LPP not
What
one
kind
of
of
those
creation?
guys? Because he kind of is.
he is
Well,
kind of one of those
there
guys.
is. You can distinguish plausibility and probability, but I think that
Of course.
he could have been. I mean, I guess he could have been like, well, no, I didn't say probability. I said plausibility, and I think there's a difference. I mean, I guess you're right. There's a possible world in which he could have said it in a way where that guy didn't respond negatively.
Oh,
But
you're
I-
going
the
the
thing
fucking
is-
possible world road.
Well, I don't even understand why the whole possibility thing matters. We have no idea what the context was under which he said, "Okay, so you're one of those guys." We don't know.
I
He
think he
was
was
just-
referring to the plausibility.
I look there. You're saying I think it's very probable
and you
that
could barely hear it. I mean, John was over talking, but you could barely hear it.
no Jungle
So
was
he
over talking.
didn't
You're
come
not
in and-
listening.
He didn't come in and start.
Jungle
fucking-
over talked, not LPP. How
Man,
many
who the
times have you
fuck-
listened to this?
Who the fuck cares who overtalked, Danny? Jesus Christ!
Because
I'm
it makes a
so
big
that
difference
was-
between LPP.
I'm
If
about
you're
to fucking toss you out, Danny.
well, if you want me to shut up, I'll shut up. If
Please.
you want,
So
if you
that
want an
was-
echo
please.
chamber, I'll shut up.
Please, yes.
So that
we
was
want an echo
logical, possible, probable, or whatever it is. He was the one that said, "So you're one of those guys."
chamber. Were you making a gesture with your hand when you were saying that? The going up and down.
Yeah,
And let's take the
it was
most
this Posey
charitable.
guy. Go ahead.
Oh, no, let's take the most charitable position. They came in, they misunderstood each other.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because Mad Max is not charitable with people. I mean, you can hear the condescension just dripping from Mad Max right off the bat.
Maybe he was born with a voice that
I know.
sounds condescending.
I know LPP kicked me out of his live stream for basically being one of those guys because I wanted to distinguish between different meanings.
Yeah, sometimes he just doesn't like clarifying terms for some reason, like he's giving ground or something.
Well, he doesn't like being challenged at all. That's why he said, "Well, you're not going to come into my stream and interrogate me." This is not an interrogation. The guy wants to know about your worldview. You're just so you recognize subconsciously that you have an indefensible worldview and you're insecure about that fact. So you have to try to project that back onto the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The context in which he kicked me out for that. He had asked a question that my education tells me could have been meant any of several different ways. So I asked him which way he meant it, and he basically said, "Well, you've got that education in that field, so you know exactly what I mean," and kicked me out for having asked the question.
Same thing happens here in 5 minutes, or 4 minutes from now. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
What kind of creationist are you?
I'm out of career. I mean, okay. So let me break it down real quick.
Everybody is.
I mean,
No,
like, yeah,
I'm not a
you're right.
creationist.
We're all creationists
Nope.
at the end of the day.
Nope.
I'm just trying to.
Not at all.
This
know
is
what?
foreskin.
I just ain't feeling this vibe.
What?
This is
We
this is
played
a
20 seconds.
this is a bastardization of the word to a point that it
Yeah.
becomes so trivial that it's no longer applicable in any meaningful way. That's exactly what JJ is doing here. Creationism, or a creationist who is some agent who adheres to the worldview, for lack of a better word, of creationism, refers to somebody who believes that some form of intelligent agent that's generally supernatural, but it doesn't have to be, but generally some supernatural intelligent agent interacted with the natural world to either create the natural world or to create life specifically in the natural world. It could be both, things of that nature.
Come on, Leo.
If you
You're,
don't
you're,
believe
you're
that,
picking on
As
you're picking on
opposed-
jung-
if you
you're
don't
picking
believe
on
that,
jungle jargon right now.
I don't give a
And-
shit. He's a
and you-
dumbass.
oh,
If
come
you
on,
don't
he's
believe
where
that, you're
his-
not a creationist.
You don't know where his brain
He's
is
right
been.
because it doesn't make sense to call someone a creationist just because they create the sounds that come out of their mouth,
Yeah, but
they know that.
Come on, it's jungle jargon.
I don't give
come
a
on.
shit.
He
You say
smoked half of the
stupid shit,
fucking
I'm correcting
Amazon
you.
forest in a
And
pipe. I mean,
just animals create. That's the only species we know of that creates thing is animals, not plants, fungi, and most of the universe does not create.
Plants. Well, it depends on what you call creating. Plants, take carbon dioxide apart and make O2 out of it. They're creating molecular oxygen for us to breathe.
Okay,
I mean,
I
yeah,
could
but I wouldn't-
expand it to that
But
slightly.
do they believe? Do they believe that they're doing that? That's a different question.
and we create things with intent. We take a rock and a stick,
Yeah.
we tie it together, and we make a hammer. Animals do that. We are the
And
only.
that is a distinction as well. Yes.
I would call that creation in the same sense that stars create heavier elements, except I just think that create generally has, I don't really want to use the term loaded, but it has implications that I think hint at intelligent agency being involved. I would prefer the
Agreed.
word produce rather than create for non-intelligent processes.
But the word creationism usually doesn't even, simply mean that an intelligent agent or intelligent agency was involved. Creationism is generally referring to a belief that a supernatural intelligent agency was involved. And, I mean, there is some stretch of that in the general usage to, some people consider creationism to be a belief that maybe, an alien intelligence was involved, from another planet or something. But it generally discludes the idea that, just believing that we humans create things makes you a creationist.
Yeah, creation would be would be intent.
Amy, Aaron says next week would be easier for him. Wide open, you pick.
Oh, awesome. Okay, we'll figure something out.
I've got him in Twitter, so back and forth. And if you got a date you want to suggest, I can just drop it right into there.
What?
I'm trying to think offhand. Do you know what times are good for you? We can do
Whenever.
Wednesday, Friday.
Ooh.
And I will say, because I debated Maddox and the other person that was with them, they always, not always, it's a common answer. I think so. And a common answer that they give is prove abiogenesis, and I will stop believing in a god. I take that answer. I don't 100% believe them. I feel like I feel like we would prove how life came from non-life, and they'd be like, well, and then the ad hocs would start coming. There would be a new goalpost.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I had an analogy, but I can't remember the damn thing right now. It was about putting a fish in a room and watching it evolve into something. If we could somehow speed it up and it happened in 30 days, put them in a room and you checked on the room, and then a fish went in and then a man came out or an ape came out, and they would say, oh, but where's the intermediate species? And then you'd go ahead and cut it in half and look inside and find the intermediate species. And then you'd prove the whole thing to them, and they'd say, well, God made it happen.
Yeah,
Works in mysterious ways.
That illustration also illustrates a bit of a common misunderstanding, and I know you know better, but a lot of creationists don't, and that is, that you said a fish, not
I know. Okay, I pulled a Hovind.
You're right, but the thing is, there are a lot of them that could not understand the clarification, because they don't think we're talking about populations. They literally think that you could put a fish in a fishbowl, and eventually, if it lived long enough, eventually it would crawl out of the fishbowl and sprout legs, and become a land animal, and on from there.
I have a bookmark of them talking like praise and logic.
It was Praise and Mad Max, and then Amy and Brenda.
Okay, okay, I have a bookmark of them talking on a late night stream when they thought no one was listening, and they were actually saying things like, "What the fish ran out of air, so it poked its head up and it grew lungs," and they were actually depicting evolution like that, and I couldn't believe it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, or another variation of that is what, the pond was drying up, so the fish decided it needed lungs and grew some.
They said that too. Yeah. They were actually
Yeah.
going on like that happened, and
that is all based on Lamarckian evolution. Before Lamarck, it was well known that life forms evolved from one generation to the next. But it wasn't. But the word evolution wasn't used much in that context. It was generally used to describe the development from fertilized egg to adulthood. Generally for the development of a fetus through its various stages. And so Lamarck extended that idea to say, when the fetus reaches adulthood, bits of that adulthood move on to the next fetus, and they continue the evolution from there. And so, if you worked out and lifted weights and got big muscles, your offspring would have big muscles because you had more muscles to contribute. And
right now,
and so they're just going, well, who needs generations? If one lived long enough, it would do the same thing.
Okay, I'd kind of like to listen to John's argument here, and I don't get.
Yeah, I was about to say, when are we getting back to the video?
We're trying.
Aaron says weekends are generally easier, by the way.
Which has nothing to do with the video.
Weekends sound good. And woohoo, foreskin.
I just feel that
ass skin
was a poor introduction.
Well, we can reset. I'm just saying, like,
sure, yeah. Let's
if you're coming into my stream and you're going to start interrogating me, so let's start again. So, who are you?
A dude.
I'm just a dude, and I thought it was an interesting conversation to come in and have a discussion surrounding abiogenesis. That's all.
John, hang on. Sounds great. So, what is your worldview?
My worldview, I guess, is I come from a place where I understand that in order for something to exist, there would have had to have been potential for that thing to exist. So, cause and effect, right? Things just don't happen for the sake of things happening. I understand that evolution is really only a thing beyond abiogenesis. Like, evolution starts after after biogenesis, right? In order for something to exist, it has to come from something. Like we've only ever lived. Sorry, let me back up again. We've only ever observed life coming from life. So the discussion going back to the inception of things existing is about where did life come from? And that's, that's the question, I guess. So, I mean, do I believe in a God in the sense of what is described in the Bible? No, I do not. Is there an originator? Is there an Jungle? Just chill out for a second. Is there a point in time where was there a point in time where something would have had to have given the potential for something to exist? Yes. What is that? I don't know. That's my position.
Is there a difference between abiogenesis and evolution? What's the difference?
Is there a difference between what? Sorry?
What's the difference between abiogenesis and evolution?
I don't understand what you're saying. Are you saying biogenesis or abiogenesis?
Abiogenesis.
Oh, biogenesis.
Okay, so what's your definition of abiogenesis, just so I understand?
They both need information that's not there. I'm wondering what the difference is.
No, that's not an explanation of abiogenesis. Could you give me your definition of abiogenesis, please?
I asked you first what the difference was between abiogenesis and evolution.
And I'm asking you what your definition of abiogenesis is, so I can.
It's the one in the dictionary. It's the one in the dictionary. Okay.
Okay. So what is that? So do you even know what it is, or are you just?
Don't play games. It's life from no life.
I'm legitimately asking
it's life
these kind
from
of
no
conversations.
Life.
God, these guys are
conversations happen where
they have no idea how to handle being asked questions.
People repeat what people say. So I'm just trying to determine where you sit in terms
okay,
of
so Fonzie,
understand.
bro, you need to chill out. Okay, so you are coming in and trying to control the conversation. Nope. Number one, so we can have dialogue, or we can be pricks. And I am well known for dominating conversations. I'm actually trying to welcome you into somebody who's new into the stream and actually have reasonable conversation. So
sure you are.
Jungle asked you if what your opinion is about the difference between, and if you see a difference between abiogenesis and evolution. But it's a very simple question. Answering the question with a question is a very standard deflection mechanism. And then you're attempting to take control and reverse the conversation. So do you actually want to have dialogue, or do you want to try and dominate the conversation?
Foreskin, really quick.
Two pieces here. One is that I've already
the IKX skin. How about that one? What I don't understand, like this is why they hate being asked questions, because they don't know enough to dive into the technicalities to specify what they mean. They just throw out terms, having no understanding of what the terms really mean, so that when somebody asks them about, okay, so how are you using this word? What does it mean? I just want to understand your position on it. They get all butthurt, and then you're just trying to derail the conversation. No, and that's like what Don was saying. That's exactly what he was doing with LPP. Was just trying to figure out what he meant by something, and he just kicked him.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
When you ask for clarification, and you can tell when they're leading you down a path. It's the when did you stop beating your wife bullshit that they constantly do, because they have a path that they want to lead you down. And they want you to respond in a certain way so they can jump on you in a certain way. And it happens over and over.
Amy, I read that wrong earlier, by the way. He said weekdays are generally easier than weekends, and I read it backwards. So
could you guys get a run?
Sounds good.
I gave him your Twitter account so he can contact you directly. So hopefully you guys can work out the details.
I just started following Speed. I just started following Aaron. I just started following Donald and anyone else. Everyone, atheists, get on Twitter, social media. Woohoo!
Social media?
Wait, hold on.
How do you spell that?
What's your handle, Amy?
Amy Newman Tweets.
Oh, damn. I'll have to follow you.
Hey, and I just started following you.
On the tweet. If I can find you. Anyway.
I don't, I'm not finding anything.
Not hard to find. It's AMYNEWMANTWEETS.
All one word?
I'm searching
all one
that.
word.
Yeah, all run together one word. No.
There we
no
go.
Underlines, no spaces.
Okay.
All run together one word.
I'll have my
Because
secretary.
I make the speaking. I can bring us back on topic because a point I like
Aaron
to
has
bring
an
up to
underscore.
them is that complexity is not the hallmark of design. A lot of times, simplification is.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
they
yeah,
really
very
don't
much so.
understand that.
Boom.
Like,
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my way of saying you made a great
Yeah,
point.
oh, thank you.
within design, complexity is the hallmark of evolved design.
I follow
You
him.
know,
It's why
within
Google
the realm
wins.
of design. In other words, if something is designed and it's also complex, that is an indication that it is a design that has evolved. For example, compare the original quadricycle with say a Ford Model A or Model T, and then compare that with any of the automobiles being manufactured these days that have descended from those models. The more evolved ones tend to be more complex. Although they don't have to be. I'm just saying it's generally an indication of that.
And hi, Gutsick. Eric is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Erica is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's listen.
She's also adorable.
Some more of this charitable dialogue. There's more.
Sure that, and if he was listening, he would have caught or understood what I said. And second is that I don't want to waste my time talking to someone who's going to have this circular kind of conversation where it's like he's asking me questions that he doesn't understand the definitions of what he's asking me. This isn't like a flat earth conversation where there's like a pre-planned algorithm where it's like I say A, so you default to B, C, and D.
Fonzie, are you
He's calling him
operating
Fonzie.
from a very significant preconception of
What
how
do you-
this conversation's hang on. Jungle, I'm going to ask you to step out for a second. Me and Fonzie are going to have a little conversation here. I'll let you back in a minute. Okay, so Fonzie, you and me. Okay, so let's go here. I'm not really sure where to be in this conversation coming into this conversation. So,
One-on-one.
why don't we, since we don't know each other, why don't we establish starting points? Would you agree that's a reasonable position to take?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So, in relation to abiogenesis, do you think that, we're just repeating things here, do you believe, yes or no, that a intelligent agent would be required for the initiation of life?
Do I agree that a intelligent agent would be required for an initiation of life? I don't agree or disagree. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. What do you view as the fundamental requirements for life to exist?
Well, again, if we look at the basic definition of abiogenesis is the original evolution of life for organisms from an inorganic or
What's up? What happened? Did it shut
No.
out? Oh no.
No,
Okay.
just give it a second.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean, you just stop talking.
Oh, sorry. Okay. No, it's on my end there. Sorry. So yeah, abiogenesis, like I say, is the original evolution of life or living organisms from an inorganic or inanimate substance. So in order for something to exist, there would have had to have been potential for that thing to exist. That's my stance, I guess. That's my response to you.
Well, that's not what I asked. I asked what are the requirements, the recognized requirements for life.
What?
Wait, hold on. Foreskin. H
What are
bar
the
upon
requirements?
H bar upon
Well,
negative
from
I by the
what we can
derivative with
observe.
respect to X skin.
We need life.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
What?
I said H bar upon negative I with respect. H bar upon negative I by the partial derivative with respect to X. It's the momentum operator in quantum
Okay,
mechanics.
wait,
Anyway,
I'll put-
that
I'll
doesn't
put
equal
it-
the
4.
point that I was getting at.
Wait, are you talking about
does
flying
Mad Ma-
foreskin now?
does does Mad Max not understand that like the requirements for life are just like a set of like maybe 5 or 6 chemicals and just a select few number of reactions that they undergo? Like the
Yeah,
requirements for life are actually
And an intelligent
fairly
being,
simple.
apparently.
Yeah. Oh, we can't forget the most important ingredient. You got to have that magic guy there that does some magic stuff and poof, life.
Yeah, because the chemicals couldn't possibly get together on their own. they couldn't get together like, you know, by natural means. They have to have some intelligent being put them together.
Exactly. You know, covalent bonds. That's just a hoax. That's fake news.
You know, like the grains of sand on a beach. You know, they can't get arranged the way they are unless somebody meticulously places each one.
Exactly.
With the current stuff I've been reading on abiogenesis, I decided that I do not make a distinction, I could not draw a line between geology, abiogenesis, and evolution anymore. It's all one thing.
Yeah,
also, listen to Demeter.
A clear dividing point. They're all overlapping, and you know, biochemistry is chemistry, and chemistry is physics. There isn't any place where you know, something departs one and becomes the other. There's simply a sort of gray area, a fuzzy line where one becomes also the other.
Yeah, like I don't understand why viruses aren't considered life.
Yeah, there's
because they cannot self-reproduce.
Yeah,
well,
in some instances they are actually considered. Like creationists, Dan, I believe, has even said it's not so much set in stone that viruses aren't
they are
life
considered
anymore.
Life.
It's kind of it's a gray area.
They are considered life in an environment where they are able to reproduce and evolve. Like, for example, inside of a cell. They are a life form when they're inside of a cell that can replicate them.
They seem to be the border between what is life and not life. They have some things that are lifelike and some things that we wouldn't classify. But then, like they were saying, once they get into a host cell, I mean, it's hard not to think of them as life.
I was about to say Dan going off in the chat.
But cells are the same way. You know, a cell that can't survive in a vacuum is not considered life when it's in a vacuum. You know,
let's get into what Dr. Dan is saying, because he's about to come through the internet and choke us all.
Well, I was actually taking it's a gradient. It's a gradient. And just a really quick point, kind of alluding to what Amy was talking about, is that if we were to go back 4 billion years and examine what existed on Earth, by today's standards, it might not be life, but there isn't this stark line on one side of it, no life, on the other side, life, and that as time went on, that line just got passed, and he went, well, these chemicals, they're just chemicals, they're not living. Boom! All of a sudden, it's life, it's a cell. No. It was a gradient process. There would have been a gray area that could have spanned hundreds of thousands, even maybe millions of years, in which there were some things that kind of look like life, some things that kind of don't, and then they continue to evolve and change and undergo more complex chemical reactions to eventually form something that looks similar to what we would call a cell. Because the very first cells that arose would not have looked like cells like they do today, because we're 4 billion years into the process.
They might have been laminae or little mud cells or whatever. There's a wonderful book by Smith and Morowitz that Meslich recommended called The Origin and Nature of Life on Earth. And he makes the case for the inevitability of life when you have the geology that the Earth started out with. So he makes, like, he sees a continuum from the geology to life, that it was inevitable. And he makes a pretty good case for it. It's a 700-page book, and it's a little dense. So it has already been shown in several different processes by which simple self-replicating vesicles can arise naturally. So you know, we don't need the complex cell structures that we have now. Basically, what Leo was saying, that, you know, there are many possible precursors to such a complex way of encapsulating the environment that the stuff in a cell lives in. And that's kind of what I was talking about, where, you know, a virus is considered a life form in an environment where it can reproduce. Right now, that's a living cell. You go back far enough in time, it may very well have just been like the ocean or a body of water that was the environment in which a virus could reproduce. It didn't necessarily have to be in a cell, because you know, if life wasn't yet contained in cells and kept separate, there would have been no protection, you know, from viruses, so they would have been ubiquitous. I just linked that book in public chat if anybody wants to check it out. It's available. So anyway, okay, shall we go on? Half skin
can only come from life, from what we can observe.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the fundamental basics of the biological system. Like, what are the recognized necessities?
Well, cells.
So cells are like about 1,000 steps up the food chain. Obviously, a cell is a necessity, but like, what are the recognized fundamental components of the cell that are required?
That's a hell of a biology question.
Yeah, well, an intelligent thing is definitely not
You're
one
looking
of
for
those
specifics, as in you're trying to look for like particular biological examples of that. I don't have that for you. Okay, I'm not at that level of detail where I'm going to sit down and give you the biology to explain that to you. But what I know is that life, from what we have observed to date, is that life can only come from life. There is no such thing as abiogenesis, which is spontaneous combustion of life. Things just don't happen for the sake of things happening. Things only happen if there is potential for that to happen, which is cause and effect. That's the position where I'm coming from.
So you've repeated that whole deal of like it's possible cause and effect, but would you agree or disagree that there are all sorts of things that are possible but are not? And by possible, I mean like if done in appropriate sequence, then and appropriate conditions, then this can occur. But the requirements for all those conditions to occur are what is actually in question in relation to the plausibility of said outcome.
Okay, could you summarize that again once more for me, please?
That's about as dumbed down as you can get it, bro.
Well, no, it's not. See, the thing.
Parsing Maddox is an art form.
Yeah, well, what he defined as possibility, well, what I mean is just that I'm just like, really, the best way to define possibility, at least from like a statistical perspective, is a non-zero chance of occurrence.
Right. Yeah.
Thing is that if you're trying to talk intelligent or intellectual, then you need to understand that not everyone is thinking at your level. So a part of being intelligent is being able to converse with the person you're talking to. So this is what I'm trying to squeeze out of you at the moment. So
are you trying to squeeze something out of me? So
well,
okay. So per your own admission,
you see, he's going.
He's such a bitch.
He decided to go cojones here. You know, he just.
Oh, is he trying to squeeze something out of me?
Yeah, he's just
apparently he thinks there's only one way of taking anything, no matter what it is.
You know, Danny, I don't give a fuck. This guy puts up a hostile environment from the very beginning, and he knows. I mean,
you don't even understand what I'm saying, Speed. Right? What do you think I'm saying? What do you?
Jesus,
like? Why? How could
if you say
disagree?
I don't understand what you're saying one more fucking time, Danny? One more.
Okay, well then I'll be more substantive. I don't think when I said that you should be charitable, right? I wasn't saying that you should be nice to him. I wasn't saying that he's worth talking to. I'm not saying he wasn't an asshole. I'm not saying any of those things, right? All I mean by charitable. That's you agree that you're asking me right now what I mean, and that's how you progress in a conversation. What I mean by charitable is that you just want to interpret them in a way where you're getting at their intentions, right? If you slow down and if they're making word mistakes or behavioral indications that might not that someone could interpret as not being what they mean, you know, that how do I put this, right? I'm sorry, I have put the definition in the chat, but the point is that when people mess up with their words or their behaviors, you can misinterpret them almost deliberately, right? You can slow down and say, okay, I think what you mean is this, or I think what you're trying to say is this, right? That's what I mean by charitable. Okay.
And did John do that? Charitable so you're saying John did that?
I'm not making any claims that he's a charitable interlocutor. I'm just saying that I like to be charitable to all of my interlocutors, whether I dislike them or like them, whether they're charitable or uncharitable, whether they're assholes or not. I want to get at what they're trying to say.
Okay, so you're this magnanimous individual who does that with John, and I swear you're sleeping with him. Are you sleeping?
Which one is?
Wait, why is that? You don't think that's a virtue to be charitable to anyone you talk to?
To a point, you know, until the
that's all I'm saying. You agree with me.
Until the person basically you realize
abuse
that they
that.
are nothing but a pile of crap and a pile of contention, like John Maddox. I mean, he
Yeah, if
never
they-
wants to have a charitable conversation with anyone.
Yeah, then okay,
If they
look, I
ab-
get
if
why
that.
the hell
I'm
should
not.
I?
that
I get that.
charitability.
I'm just saying. I get that. Maybe he's not worth talking to. Okay, or whatever. The point is that if you're talking to him, why would you deliberately misinterpret him?
Well, when have I ever
Which
talked
one?
to him?
That's not the point. I'm saying if it's a conditional. If you talk to him, wouldn't you want the best understanding of what he's saying to you? And if you don't, then you're just not interested in really having a good communication
Well,
back
that's
and
why I'm
forth.
going over his fucking video, Danny. I'm trying to find out what his argument is.
Yeah, you're being charitable. That's a good thing.
Which one
Despite
is
what you think
John?
about him.
Does anybody know what Danny's point is right now?
No, I
Yeah.
don't know what his
Yes, I
point
do.
is.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Which
I just
Okay,
don't
tell
think
me.
that charitable is the best word that he should be. You should be understanding. Yes. Charitable
Which
and
one is
understanding are not the same thing.
Well,
Which
I'm
one is
Charitable
using
is
the
being
wrong.
kind and not judging somebody in a negative way. You can
Not-
be
not in-
unkind and
not in
judging, but still
debate.
understand somebody.
No, Danny,
It means something different in debate. Look it
Why
up in
don't
the
you-
debate context.
why are you not charitable here, but you are when you go on John's channel?
What do you mean? I try so hard to understand you. Are you
Do
kidding
you?
me?
Do you
Yes.
really?
Which one?
When
which
have I
one is John?
deliberately misinterpreted you?
When have
you
we
keep saying,
deliberately-
When have I
understand
I have
you.
never strawmanned you. Never have I ever strawmanned you or told you
My
you believe
God.
this.
You strawmanned all of biology, for Christ's sake.
Which one is John?
What does
on.
that even mean?
Wait.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, you better try to figure it out. Okay, go
No, the
away.
point
one
is
is
that I try to
We're going to move on
understand
with
you.
the video, and you're going to go try to figure out how you strawman biology with your natural.
What are you talking about right now? Now this is unfair to me. I'm not. I
I'd
didn't
really
say.
appreciate it if somebody could tell me which one is John.
I'm just saying that I don't try
LPP.
to strawman people.
Thank you.
I don't do that. I might misinterpret people on accident, unintentionally. That might happen. But I never say, "Oh, I see what he's trying to say here," but I'm going to pretend like I'm misinterpreting him, or I'm interpreting him in this way. I never do that shit. I never ever do that shit. I hate doing that shit. I hate when people do that to me. I don't even think you do that to me. I think you misunderstand me all the time, but I don't think you're doing it intentionally.
Well, wait, hold on. I have a quick question, Danny. Like, misunderstandings happen, sure, but nobody can misunderstand somebody all the time. I mean, okay, never mind. It's possible, but then why the fuck would you have a conversation with them in the first place?
Well, you could try to
Because you
get
don't
to
know
a
any
point
better.
of. You could try to get to a point of understanding the person before you disagree with them, right? That and that's like half the conversation sometimes. Like, I'm not claiming any of y'all are being uncharitable towards me, but in the beginning of that video, I interpreted it. The first aggressor was not LPP.
Oh,
right?
Bullshit. Okay,
No,
I'm
it was
muting
not.
you. Muting you, Danny. I'm going to mute everybody.
It did look to me like he was, Danny. It did look to me like he was, and I do believe I was being very, very impartial, especially since I really don't know who either of these two guys are. I've ran into LPP before, not enough to really know much about him or be able to say that I know the guy.
He's a very nice guy.
You know, he seems all right overall. I mean, but he does seem to have that tendency to to think that anything said only has one meaning, and whoever is receiving it knows what the sender meant by it, and like there are no exceptions to that. And I don't think he's got ill intentions in assuming that. I think it just seems to be something that he thinks everybody knows is true.
Okay, let's play some more of the video. Okay,
please.
You don't actually know what is required, but I'm the one who is not approaching this appropriately.
Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I mean, you keep coming back and being a little bit. You've been being a prick since the second you came in here. So I'm giving you what you got when you make snarky statements. And so again, I'm going back to the whole premise of: do we want to have genuine dialogue, or do we want to turn this into a snark fest? Because believe me, I can be every bit as sarcastic as anyone. So if we want to go down, if we want to go down that rabbit hole, we can.
I mean,
or we can have.
So can I. But what's the productivity of that?
Well, that's what I'm asking you, because you're the one that keeps being snarky.
I think it's your interpretation of that. That's not actually my position. My position is from a place where I'm saying that every
so let's
comes from a place.
So let's go back to the extraordinary basics of cause and effect. Right? In order for an effect to occur, there has to be a cause, right?
No.
Yes.
Now, for the effect to be executed, are there additional parameters that must be in place from a process perspective in order for the effect of that cause actually to be actualized?
Okay, so what is he saying?
I don't know what you're saying.
Nobody knows.
Okay, he's saying, in order for, he's saying there has to be other controlling parameters.
Yeah, he thinks there are parameters you must have, like a checklist, to be considered life. And I'm struggling to understand what those parameters could be. I know if I were like on his channel, he'd probably look down on me for that, but I just don't think they're there. Reproducibility and I guess the ability to process outside material for your own source.
No, they're talking about cause and effect. So he's talking about, and this guy Fozzie is talking about, like, he believes that if something happens, then there were some conditions that made that thing happen or allowed that thing to happen, that sort of thing. And John is trying to get him to offer up some other parameters. Basically, he's trying to get him to specify.
Oh, so I guess I just missed that they went beyond what he was talking about, the requirements for life.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Well, maybe maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Or he may be using that as a way to come back around to it. But
go a little further.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay, if you put dominoes in a row,
dominoes,
and you push one, and they start falling over,
right?
If you want to have the dominoes from the aerial view spell "Hello World," do you have to have put all of the dominoes in a specific pattern in order to have that occur?
No.
Excuse me?
No.
In order for the dominoes that have now fallen over, that if you look down on it from an aerial perspective, they're now falling over and it spells the word hello. Right. You're telling me that does not require a pre-existent action versus just having a whole boatload of them in a line. And yes, they both got knocked over, but...
Okay, so here's where John builds in intelligent design into his interrogation, or into his... He's trying to build it into the conversation, and Fozzie is thinking, okay, there is some possible world where dominoes could just randomly fall that way, or be set up that way in advance. And this has happened over and over again between the two different sides. So it's kind of interesting, but we'll go a little further.
They're in a line. They're not going to spell out the word hello, are they?
No, because it's probability. I mean, that's equivalent to me asking you if
no. Right now we're establishing if there has to be steps in place in order to achieve an outcome in certain scenarios. It's not just raw cause and effect.
Does there have to be a God?
What I'm asking, okay, maybe you can help me understand this, because this is my position where I'm coming from. Okay, is that if you have a boiling pot of water, this is how I visualize it. Okay, if you have a boiling pot of water, and when you look at that boiling, when I observe that surface of the boiling water, it's absolute chaos. There's no consistency. There's no predictability. Things are just happening crazily out of my control. Is it at all possible that for a fraction of a second, that within all of that chaos, within that boiling, rippling water, that all of a sudden that there could be a moment of calm? Could it be at all possible that there could be a flat surface just for a fraction of a second within that chaos?
That's within the realm of possibility, but you are completely missing the entire point. That is, and the question that's being asked. You are asking from a raw basics of physics and chemistry perspective. Can a random occurrence happen.
Correct. And I'm
Right.
affiliating that
Okay.
to, or I'm associating that to
So
the idea of
let's go back to what is the
could
necessity
these
for
dominoes be a random? Could the message within those dominoes be a random occurrence?
Okay,
Yes or no?
so let's think about that. Well, no.
Well, why not? Well, could there not be a
Okay,
flat,
so hang on,
predictable-
bro. Okay, what is
Bro.
the necessity for syntax?
Let's just stick to the level of understanding that I have
we're
right now.
okay. We're going into basic language here. So, what is syntax?
What is this bro shit? Really irritates me. But now he mentioned syntax, and let's see what he says about it.
I'm just going to entertain your audience and say I don't know. So explain to me what syntax is.
Okay, so are you suggesting that there is no difference between boiling water and
Wait, hold
a
on.
word?
He asked him a question, and then he says he doesn't know. Explain it to me, and then Mad Max just goes off on something that's not even fucking related to the question he just asked him. Does Mad Max even know what syntax is?
I don't think he does, because let's listen for a minute.
What I'm saying is that the way that those dominoes fell is a random occurrence. Is it at all possible that underneath is it
Okay, hang on. Are you suggesting that the dominoes that have been set up as the result of an intelligent agent taking action and aligning them with foreknowledge of the outcome based on the cause and effect from a physics standpoint to both fall in and hit in the appropriate pattern to both maintain the chain reaction and have it form in a predetermined manner in order to spell out a word? Are you suggesting that's random?
what you're asking me is, and I mean, that's
a very simple yes or no question, man. Is that random? Do you actually view that as random? If you actually view that as random, then I don't know what world you live in.
Well, then, okay. Again, like, let me try to explain.
Bro, what world do you live in? Yes or no? Are dominoes that have been organized
Foreskin.
in a specific pattern that have literally been open?
Okay.
That have literally
Don't back me into a corner.
Okay, that have literally been.
Why aren't we foreskinning
by a human?
Because it's almost over.
Well, there might be something that an individual wanted to touch on before it ends.
And then we could discuss. But go ahead. Yeah.
Let's hope they don't forget.
No, it's just, I'm not going to blame Maddox, but just in general, I feel that the theists and the atheists have two different goals.
Yeah.
The atheist is to convey information, and the theist is to sound technical. And when you have those two different goals, you're going to get two very different results.
Right.
You have two very different conversations.
That sums it up.
And you could hear that in the way that he was explaining what happens, like when you take dominoes and set them up and then knock them down. Like that explanation was so just elongated beyond what it needed to be, and he was doing it to make it sound smart. Like he could have just said, "Wait, so you're telling me if somebody set up dominoes in a way that if you knocked them over, that process would spell out the word hello, that wouldn't require an intelligent agent?" But that question is loaded to begin with because he's offering up a scenario that itself presupposes an intelligent agent.
Yeah, that's not syntax.
My answer would have been, it depends on how many dominoes and what are the conditions in which these dominoes were generated. I mean, if you've got a domino factory that's producing dominoes with letters on them and spewing them out in a random order, sooner or later, it's going to spell that word.
Yeah, I would say that rare things happen all the time. Sometimes extremely rare things happen, and it could be that the thing spells out "hello world," and there just happens to be some intelligent person to interpret it where it looks exactly like whatever language they're familiar with. It can happen, but it won't happen because it would be such a rare thing.
But I doubt that's how life happened anyway.
He doesn't understand really what
You got
the
hundreds of trillions of dollars. Will have.
biochemical position is.
Yeah. Okay, I think there's about 1 minute left here.
In order to spell out a specific word, are you actually, this is a yes or no question. If you don't answer yes or no, I'm letting other people in and we'll extend this conversation with other folks. Because then at this point, I'll be dealing with a complete idiot. So yes or no, is all of that process
Call him an idiot.
that has been the result of somebody taking a whole crap load of dominoes out of a freaking box, setting them up on a piece of concrete in a specific order, and then once they're all done perfectly, pushing the first one, causing a chain reaction, which then, if you look down on it, spells out the word hello. Is that, and all of the components that were required for that to occur, is that chance yes or no?
That's not a yes or no question. I'm sorry.
Actually, it is. Yeah, he set
What's
that
up,
one
guys?
up.
How y'all
So,
doing?
he set
What's
that
up?
one up, so it requires a person setting it up.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, pigs.
I think he throws them out shortly. So anyway, that's kind of the end of the conversation. But
he's offering
that's-
us a scenario
he
that
literally-
doesn't take place by chance, and then asking, "Did this take place by chance?" It's just,
Yeah.
it is so
He literally
fucking
just asked
dumb.
if a person is involved. Is there a person involved?
Yeah.
It's just- yeah, he they build it into every argument. They build their intelligent design into every argument, and they use analogies from humans that we're apes that build tools, and then they think they have an argument, and they never. I don't get it. It's not
And
the way-
beware of analogies that take more than 2 minutes to build.
Well, I think Amy worded it perfectly. Like, a lot of these people, I would argue it's especially true in Mad Max's case. He's not trying to explain something in a way that lets his opponent really understand what he's trying to get at, because he doesn't care about that. He cares about sounding technical and smart, and like he's so much smarter than everybody else. He's done that with literal, actual PhDs he's brought on his channel. Like that one guy, what is that, a month or two ago, Speed? The one guy that, what was he, British or Australian or something like that he had on, and was just absolutely the biggest condescending prick to him, trying to act like he knew more than this actual PhD on the subject, because that's all he cares about.
Yeah, that was that Peter?
Pete?
Or no, what the hell was
his name?
Shit, he was cool. Anyway,
yeah,
he was trying to be really nice to him. It was the Matt Dillahunty after show. Matt Dillahunty and Hovind, I think, after show, something like that.
Something like that.
Amy, check the private chat if you would.
Okay.
Private chat. Oh.
And one of the things that one of my co-hosts loves to point that he loves to make is they will consistently, in many, many different categories of many expertise with people who have PhDs, and just kind of poo-poo everything that they say. It is geology, biology, go deeper, people who have degrees in genetics. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
yeah, I've been wanting to. I'm sorry, Speed. You were talking first.
They love to ask a geneticist about geology too. They like that. Yeah. They like to try to debate you on something that is not your expertise.
Or a paleontologist who writes on geology.
Right. We've got a really good buddy swings by the channel every now and then that had a few discussions with a PhD molecular biologist and active origins of life researcher, a guy who's actually published papers on the subject, and the guy just hand waved everything the PhD said away like it didn't matter. It's not the only PhD he's done it with. He's done it with Dr. Dan. He's done it with molecular alchemy.
Wait, who are we talking about now? Sorry, I just came back from talking to my neighbor. What did you say?
Apologists in general, but probably they're talking about Maddox.
No, I'm talking about Tangelo.
Oh, Tangelo.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
He's been corrected by people like Dr. Dan, who's a PhD. I believe it's in genetics, but that might be a more specified aspect of a larger. But anyway, he's had like 2 or 3 discussions on this channel with Demeter, who's a PhD molecular biologist. He's had discussions with molecular alchemy, who's a PhD. Is he molecular biologist? Okay. And they've corrected him on things.
I'm going to try to be on.
And Otangelo actually went on Dr. Dan's channel and talked with him about intelligent or irreducible complexity and explained how it's already been falsified. He went on Dapper Dino's channel And Dapper Dino like explicitly asked Otangelo, okay, what would falsify intelligent design? And Otangelo gave him the standard of falsification. And Dapper's like, okay, so if this standard of falsification were met, irreducible complexity would be falsified. Otangelo said yes. And Dapper said, okay, well, we've got this example and that example and that example and this example that meet that standard of falsification. And then Otangelo was just like, oh, well, that's not my model. And Guts Gibbon can testify to everything I just said because she was there.
Yep.
She was there, man.
Yeah, with
I
this
don't know.
thing of hand waving away people who are accomplished experts in the field, we have a big, raise yourself up by your bootstraps mentality in America. But you take somebody who's gone to college, done labs, gone on to graduate school, got a PhD, had a thesis that was challenged by other experts in the field, and then they went on to do research on a postgraduate level and have focused in on one particular field. What are the odds that you, in your normal life without the background education, are going to be able to figure out so much about biology or chemistry or physics that you can just outdo all the experts in the field and ignore their papers and handwrite them? How many people are actually going to be able to do that? And do you think it's that crowd in the fundamentalist creationist area that are going to be able to do it? They all think too highly of themselves and their abilities. I'm not saying it's not theoretically possible, but not that many people are going to be able to do it.
Exactly.
A lot of people think they are. You might be interested in the work of Dunning and Kruger.
Yeah. The thing is that how is it that somebody with absolutely no degrees and no formal education, who's never done research, any of that, to any level that would be even remotely relevant to the subject, somehow figured out all these problems, but all these tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of professionals all across the globe over literal generations have somehow just missed a problem? And that's why at the end of the day, things like intelligent design and creationism are fundamentally conspiratorial. There's some conspiracy that all these liberal scholars are hiding the truth about God from the world.
Yeah.
You beat me to the punch.
Can I respond to that? Because there actually is a way. If the person is an autodidact, if they're self-studied, if they don't follow the mainstream ways of thinking and the mainstream ways of looking at things, yeah, they very well might find something that the mainstream has been missing out on because there's too much uniformity there. But just because it is possible doesn't mean someone has done it. And, as I mentioned a little while ago, too many people think they can and can't.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like Donald and Leo said, it's conspiratorial in nature. It's not that they haven't been able to prove intelligent design or creationism. It's that they're holding the truth back.
No, but I see it as
sciences.
But I see it as just maybe correlation, right? I mean, like there are kids that believe in flat Earth and creationism, but they don't have the same mentality as some of these creationists in terms of how they regard consensus and scientific papers. So it's not by nature.
And I view them.
So it's a good start to be on the way there.
I actually. Oh nope, you Lee.
Nope.
Well, I was just gonna.
En, what the hell are you doing?
Who?
You, En.
Okay,
Wow.
Amy was trying to say something.
Yeah, sorry, Amy.
No. I don't have an actual peer-reviewed evidence, but I see a high correlation between, for whatever reason, flat Earth and a lot of other conspiracy theories and theism. I just don't meet that many theist flat earthers, and that may be, a coincidence or a random anomaly. But it seems to me,
no, I wouldn't say that either.
Start accepting non-skeptical, non-naturalistic thinking, conspiratorial thinking. It circles.
No, but I think you don't have to go that extreme either. There could be a common causal factor between like the adult creationists on YouTube and conspiracies, right? But I'm saying I don't think they cause one another. You know.
Well,
Don't say they
I think the
cause
problem
one.
is where when you talk to a creationist and you say, "So you believe this is true?" Yeah. Do you believe that the evidence in the data shows that it's true? Yes. So then why does the evidence in the data not actually show that it's true? And why does literally none of the professionals believe it? If their answer to that is, well, these are just a bunch, is anything that's even remotely close to what I'm about to say, it is, well, these liberal scholars or these atheist, evolutionist, secular scholars are hiding the truth. That is by definition a conspiracy. They're arguing that there's some underlying conspiracy to hide some truth that they've figured out. So I'm not saying
I think
that
I would agree with that.
Creationist is a conspiracist, but I would argue with and this is the point I think that Amy is making, is that the vast majority of them tend to be, because that's the argument they give for why the fields don't agree with their position. Well, it's because it's a conspiracy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
I go ahead, Dax. Since you must talk.
I was just going to say a lot of that actually, I think, I'm pretty sure actually, a lot of that actually comes from the fact that religion itself is conspiratorial in nature, by its very nature. And so they're surrounded by conspiracy all the time. It makes sense that that they would see things as conspiracy because it's what they're used to.
I think the correlation with heavily religious people, with extremist right-wing conspiratorial politics, is evidence enough that even if I were to grant that religiosity itself isn't conspiratorial, it tends to lead to that line of thinking. What is the correlation there?
It leads
like a causal.
That's what I'm saying. Is it leads toward that line of thinking because it is conspiratorial. Because in order for organized religion to exist, somebody has to conspire to make it exist. And they have to conspire to keep it existing and sustain it. Yeah. So yeah. So
I don't know. I mean, do y'all think the belief in God has some belief in that the New Testament is taken to be true? Do you think that has a causal tendency?
A causal tendency to produce conspiratorial thinking?
I would say
any causal tendency.
So
it has many causations. I'm not sure what you mean by a causal tendency.
Meaning, some people think that religious belief in certain areas has a causal tendency towards violence, right? And I'm so adamant against that, right? And in the same way that
I wouldn't say, I don't think religion itself would have a causal tendency toward violence, but the teachings of the Bible definitely do. Because
I
of
don't
the fact
think
that
so.
the Bible, well, you don't think so because you're not concentrating on those parts of the Bible. I'm talking about the Bible as a whole. And the Bible actually condones
I don't think
violence
so
in
either.
many. It absolutely
I don't think so
Let
does.
Amy talk.
Think so or not. If you haven't read it, you won't think so.
Yeah, Dak, let Amy talk.
Okay.
My point would be, once you start to take on claims like miracles, once you are able to defy physics, then the game is on. Why shouldn't that be able to happen again? And then in the opposite view, if you're going to accept something on personal evidence and not empirical evidence, how can you then criticize anyone else for then doing the same for anything else?
But there are a lot of atheists. There are a lot of atheists that are not naturalists. Only 50% of philosophers are identified as naturalists, right?
All the smart ones are naturalists.
But by the way, Danny, if you watch Amy's live stream from last night, we actually went over a part of the Bible where Yahweh is basically saying, not in so many words, but basically, saying, actually in so many words, he's saying all of these lands that are owned by other people, all of these already inhabited lands, are going to belong to your descendants. Basically, go out and conquer them and take their lands.
I don't think any causal tendency. I don't think any text in itself. I'm going to say that again. In itself, has a causal tendency. It's not like Mein Kampf has a causal tendency to produce nonsense.
Well, no, the text just sits there. If people read it and take it to be the word of the all-powerful Creator who owns everything, that's a whole different story. If they think that God is condoning such things because the Bible says God is condoning such things, and if they believe that God to be the ultimate authority on everything, as many do, then yes, it definitely can tend to lead them into thinking it's okay for them to do the kind of stuff that God.
Yeah, but it's not going to be explained in terms of the Bible.
In the Bible,
it's not. It can't be the difference in behavior.
That's in the Bible.
The difference in behavior can't be explained by the text.
Not all by itself. No, there are other factors.
And I think that factor is
my point. To say that the text has no causal tendency.
Well, it's your beliefs, or all of our beliefs. Anyone's.
It has demonstrated itself to have that causal tendency. It has demonstrated itself to have that causal tendency.
I don't think so.
History.
Even if there was a one-to-one correlation,
you haven't paid attention to things like the Inquisition, because
I'm granting you all of that. I'm granting there could be a one-to-one correlation. It wouldn't establish there's a causal tendency of the text.
They used the text to make it happen.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing.
Yes, that is not only a causal tendency. That is an actual causation.
Oh no, I'm not disputing that either. Do you know what I mean? If A causes B, doesn't necessarily mean that A has a causal tendency towards B. There's a difference, a big difference.
No, but if A causes B repeatedly, yes, it does tend to indicate a causal tendency.
No, that doesn't follow
A is
either.
Tending to cause. That's what a causal tendency is.
You mean something different by tendency.
Well, that's why I asked what you meant by causal tendency. That is actually, if you just take the words, that's exactly what a causal tendency is.
That means there's some further explanatory fact about the cause between A and B, other than any fact about A.
There probably are other factors that can contribute to
then
the
A doesn't have a causal tendency.
But there is still the fact that it was a cause, and
I'm not
it
disputing
tended
that.
to be a cause more than once.
You're equivocating on tendency.
Okay, then
so
I
what do
don't
you
know
mean
what
by
you mean.
tendency?
Then I don't know what you mean by a causal tendency, because, like I said, if you just take the words, yes, it's a cause. It's demonstrated itself to be a causal tendency. If you mean something else,
regularity,
then I don't know.
Like a regularity that's understood in terms of
No, I don't think it's at all regular. Yeah, I would agree with you there. I don't think it's regular. It's irregular.
It's not just regular, but it's described in a law-like way, or a law in terms of laws. Right, so if A causes B, further explained by some law or set of laws, right, then there's a causal tendency for A to cause B.
Yeah, no, it would not be a causal tendency in that sense. And they're gonna. I mean, that could be taken a different way depending how you interpret law, because the Bible presents certain things as laws, and if you put it that way, then I could say yes, it's even a causal tendency in that sense, but that would be being pedantic.
But those are deontic. Those are deontic. Those are not like modal or established necessity.
That's why I said I'm not gonna do that. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna call time on this, if speed will allow me to.
Yes.
Because I've been wanting to. Did you want to say something, Amy?
Yeah.
Oh no, I think I can make a correlation, because I try to be nuanced, because I know when theists listen, they're like, "Are you telling me that because I'm a theist, I do all these evil things?" No. It's more subtle than that. I would say I'll give you a concrete correlation. Bible says homosexuality is an abomination. The blood has been upon us. They shall be put to death. Don't you think that at least that has the chance of people who believe in the text or read the text putting gays to death?
Not by itself. Look, so let's establish what we agree on.
Wait a minute, Danny.
It's not going to force the people to do it. Of course, it's not going to be by itself.
Hold on, because I'm going to interject with maybe one of my opinion of a causal tendency of certain Christians to deny science and evolution. And don't forget that there was a strong movement that started in the late 19th century, kind of took shape in the early 20th, and pretty much ruled and ruined our politics up through the end of the 20th century, and is having its effect today, and that is Christian fundamentalism. It was a social movement, sociological. It insisted as kind of a what's it called, as a counter to the effects of the Renaissance. It insisted on literal interpretation of the Bible. It insisted on particular doctrines, the bodily resurrection of Christ, even for most folks, the virgin birth of Mary, and so on. And it was that which drove the creationist movement. That as it started, it drove eventually politics, because that's Reagan and all the Republican political strategists realized there was this fundamentalist movement going on, the Jerry Falwells and such, and they adopted their anti-abortion stance because they knew they could get a bunch of fundamentalists in there.
Okay.
And as part of that, the creationist movement grew and became part of that. So there are all sorts of causal factors that lead to this idea that there's a conspiracy against the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yep.
To deny Scripture and its literal interpretation. Now
now
that I've said that, I'm going to put myself on mute and listen to whatever everybody else wants to say.
I'll try to be as fast as possible. To Amy's point. So look, where we do agree is that it's perfectly rational to say that if you're a Christian, you probably are against homosexuality. That's fine, but that doesn't establish a kind of explanation for why Christians believe that homosexuality is wrong. Okay, so we can talk about probabilities without invoking explanations based on correlations. Wait, let me finish. Based on correlations. Correlations can lend us probabilities, right? And that's totally rational. I'm not disputing that. And to your point, Scott, what I'm not saying is something like there are that Christian fundamentalism or Christians or Christian thought don't explain anything. It's certainly for sure. Christian belief and Christian movements do explain certain phenomena, like in the political sphere, right? The claim that I'm making that Dak understood, right, was that if we understand a causal tendency as some kind of further fact and that establishes a regularity between one event and another, right, then Christian thought, right, or Christian belief is not going to have such a feature.
Yeah, but I would not define causal tendency that way.
Neither would
understand your definition.
Well, there's no disagreement there. I'm not going to disagree about that.
Okay.
I'm not going to disagree on how you define words.
Yeah, just clarifying. That's all.
I did want to say one thing really quickly, just because I think it needs to be said. It's a little off topic. That when I was going off about how Atangelo doesn't have PhDs and yada yada yada, he made the comment. So I don't have a PhD, so I guess I don't know anything. I've never said that. I don't think anybody in here. Okay, some people might say that. I don't think Otangelo doesn't know anything. My problem isn't with what he knows. It's with the conclusions he extrapolates out of that knowledge and how they just do not align with the observations and they do not follow logically from the knowledge that he has. It's like somebody's taking knowledge about something and then extrapolating that to a conclusion that can't really be extrapolated out of that data because it just doesn't point in that direction. And that's one of the problems with a lot of creationists. I'm not one of these people that's going to say they're all stupid and dumb and they don't understand anything. It's just the conclusions they extrapolate out of the data just straightforwardly don't follow.
Yeah.
Do I answer Andrew's question?
We have a question here for Danny from chat.
What they don't know is almost never the problem. It's what they incorrectly think they know.
Okay, Danny, do you see the question that Andrew Cumming asked you?
Yeah, there can be evidence for there not being a cause to the universe, but there can never, in principle, be evidence that there's definitively no cause, right? So I'm fine with saying that there's evidence that the universe didn't have a cause, right? But the idea of an empirical investigation is there's never going to be necessity with respect to that claim.
Whoever insinuated that it didn't have a cause?
The question was something like if we had evidence that the universe didn't have definitively didn't have a cause, then but the point is that sure, that's fine. We have a reason to think it didn't have a cause, but the point is that an empirical investigation is never going to get necessity with respect to that.
Yeah. I mean, if it didn't have a cause, we'd never be able to find out that it didn't have a cause, because we could never rule out a cause that we weren't able to find.
I don't think it could have a cause if there was no time.
I agree with that.
I do, but I have had extensive studies in higher dimensional geometry, and I understand time in more than just a linear sense. So
right,
so I do, because time as we know it, not being around doesn't mean there wouldn't be any time in any sense.
But the weird thing too is that causes are metaphysical. No one's seen a cause. We just see events. right? This was Hume's point.
Well, we do see evidence of the cause and evidence of the event. We don't actually ever see the cause or the event. We see the evidence of the cause and
when
the
you
evidence
say
of
evidence, you're just talking about events, right? That if you were to
well, in a
evidence
sense, if you're
You
talking
mean
about the
look,
photon,
wait, let me finish. Evidence only
okay.
makes sense if you start with a hypothesis which invokes a cause. Evidence is what you would expect given a hypothesis or a theory or maybe even a law, depending on your definitions, right? That means that you have to start with there being a cause in order to make sense of evidence.
People say I have anger issues.
Not
I think there are
necessarily.
other
You can
kinds of
work it in either
evidence.
direction. But my point was that all of our observations are indirect, unless you're talking about the observation that a photon excited a cell in your body. You know that's kind of direct. But you know, all of in general, all of the observations we think we're making are all indirect observations. We look at our own reflection in the mirror, and you know, we're not seeing ourselves, we're seeing the light.
No, I agree with you.
reflecting back
I'm a
at us.
transcendental.
Same
I'm
if
a
we're looking at
transcendental
someone
idealist.
else.
Yeah, I'm a transcendental idealist. I agree with you.
But that's all we've got, and so it makes sense for us to interpret that as the things that you know that our brains have figured out that they are. However, it's worth noting that there is such a thing as an optical illusion, and you know, there are other such, you know, perceptual
Leo,
errors.
remember in our philosophy of math episode, we were talking about Kant's intuition. He understood cause to be part of that intuitive faculty. So he didn't think you could perceive causes, nor did he think you could understand a cause based on a concept, right? So that's one of, I don't know about this faculty of intuition, but the point is that there are damning arguments against the idea that we perceive causes either like through sense perception or something like that, or that we just can know what a cause is by reasoning to it.
But my point is we don't with effects either. You know, either way, we're conjecturing those things from the information we are able to gather. A cause and an effect are a correlation between two different events, and you know that's a correlation.
Wait, what did you say was a cause? What did you say? What did you just say?
I said a cause and an effect are two different. The cause and effect are both correlations. One is the cause is a correlation with the effect. The effect is a correlation with the cause. Those are two separate events. Or two separate processes, as the case may be. And it's a mental construct, is what it is. I mean, these things happen in physics. We have evidence that they happen in physics, but we can't witness either one of them directly. We're witnessing everything indirectly.
Leo's hand is up.
Hi, Leo.
Yeah, I don't think that in physics, there's not really much of a meaningful distinction between a cause and an effect. I would argue that those are emergent perceptions of the human mind, because I would understand it as a system changing, and you can define that change by, say, like a differential equation or a partial differential equation. It's just processes happening. What is a cause and what is effect? Those are labels that we apply to different aspects of the system and how they relate to each other. But ultimately, and this is why the whole, William Lane Craig, well, the universe must have a cause argument just doesn't work. That's just not how reality fundamentally operates.
Well, to be fair to William Lane Craig,
they run the other direction.
Why be fair to him?
To be fair, well, you see, you're an uncharitable whatever. Okay. To be fair to William Lane Craig, what he's trying to say, he thinks that the premises of the Kalam are plausible, not necessitated.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah. So there. Oh, okay. I thought you meant must, as in like necessitates.
Yeah. The conclusion contains the word
no matter
must.
how you look at it.
The conclusion what?
The conclusion in the argument does contain the word must. In the original form that he gave in the 70s, I think it was premise 1, whatever begins to exist has a cause. Premise 2, the universe began to exist, therefore the universe must have a cause.
Oh, interesting. But I don't think that relates to the premises being necessary. I wonder where that.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
No, but it was worded as necessary in that original version. Yes.
That's crazy. That's a modal scope fallacy.
Yeah, I would agree
Right?
with that.
Yeah.
And like
He
you
said
said,
that.
the must there, I don't think it requires that the premises be necessitated.
Yeah, every version of that argument that I've come across is ridiculous.
Because
I
of the
haven't found
time
an
thing.
exception.
That's like the only. I mean, I think
Because
the
of
argument's really
multiple
interesting.
factors.
I don't think that the kalam is like a ridiculous argument. I just don't think it's sound. I think it's valid, but I don't think it's sound.
It's
And not
that
to mention,
also.
he doesn't even use that version anymore. He uses the version premise 1. If the universe began to exist, then there is a transcendent cause of the universe's existence. Premise 2, the universe began to exist. Conclusion, therefore, there is a transcendent cause of the universe's existence.
Is that the most recent?
The version. As I understand it, yes. That was the version that he gave in his 2013 debate with Sean Carroll. And I have seen him. I remember seeing it again on, I think, an article he wrote in response to, like, a reader or something, where he gave that version. But since about 2016, he might have updated it even further.
Yeah, we have no example of a transcendent cause anywhere ever.
Hold on, guys.
What
does Loki have to say about this?
What's up?
What does Loki have to say about this? Is that Loki?
No, this is Thor. That's Thor.
A mind,
Thor
a
has
mind is
something
just
to know.
emergent complexity. It's not a transcendent cause.
Yeah, I think that's irrational.
I just thought he
No,
could weigh in
it's
and get on
factual.
camera.
I agree.
To me, I think it comes down to how you define the term transcend, because I mean, if you've just taken the base definition of something that goes beyond the range of, or limits of something else, in some senses, my mother transcends me because she does not depend on me for her existence. I am contingent upon her. She would transcend me. Her existence would transcend mine. But that might not necessarily be the way that Doc is using it. And I understand that, especially in metaphysics, transcend has a much more specified usage.
Yeah, I think he just means like immaterial or
you're
something.
correct.
And the problem
More or less.
with all of those arguments is
Simplification,
they're
but
all
yeah, more or less.
deistic.
Yeah,
they're never specific arguments for their actual religion.
And even with the kalam, I mean, saying that it leads to just a deistic god is still a stretch. All it says is that there's something that caused the universe. I mean, that's as far as it gets.
Wait, no, but he gives the person. I don't know if the argument works.
He extrapolates the properties, I guess you could say, of this causal agent from the fact that if it caused space-time and mass energy to exist, then it must be an uncaused, spaceless, timeless, immaterial, and immensely powerful personal agent.
I don't know how he gets there.
I mean, I could go through it, but I really don't want to. I was a William Lane Craig Parrott. I know the 4 arguments that he gives, 4 or 5 arguments that he gives most frequently: the contingency argument, the Kalam cosmological argument, the teleological argument, the moral argument, the ontological argument. The versions
and
that
the
he
minimal
gives,
facts.
I know those very, very well. Well, he did many other arguments, but those 5, at least when I was following him back in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, were the 5 arguments that he gave those in his debates with Christopher Hitchens, with Sam Harris, who is the other guy? I want to say Lewis Wolpert maybe was another one, but those 5 are ones that I know are arguments.
But he gives the minimal what Amy was saying. What Amy was saying was that he gives a minimal facts argument to attempt to bring it to Christianity, but no, I understand how he gets all of the properties other than the personal. I don't know where he gets. I don't understand that argument. I listened to it so many times. Yeah, I don't see how he gets that.
I can try to explain it. What he's arguing is that if some impersonal, just random mechanistic, well, I would not really necessarily random, but if some mechanistic cause of the universe is what produced it, and that cause has existed, well, eternally, then its effect should exist eternally with it. Similarly, if you have some hypothetical state, and it might be a little contrived, but it makes the point where the temperature has been 0 degrees centigrade literally forever, and you have a puddle. That puddle of water will have been frozen literally forever. So the only way to avoid, so if the cause of the universe, he grants that the universe has a beginning, it has an absolute beginning, and it is contingent. But if the cause of the universe's existence is some impersonal mechanistic process, and that process has to exist forever, then its effect should exist forever as well. But it doesn't. The only way around this is if the effect has agency, where it can engage in a causal act of its own will to produce an effect independent of itself, so that you could have the effect existing eternally, but the cause existing eternally, rather, but the
Yeah,
effect
I almost
necessitated there.
that's almost exactly what I remembered him saying. It still doesn't make any sense to me. Like now that I remember, that's almost exactly what he said. I don't get it. I just don't get, I don't see why that follows. I don't see why that follows. And I don't see how that meshes with the, he has to overcome the big objection about what Speed said with the time thing, right?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems with the argument, in my opinion.
And if the time thing doesn't work, I don't see how the hell he's going to defend the personal aspect with them.
I agree.
But even if, I don't know, it just doesn't, that's like, I remember even as a Christian, that was the only one I didn't get, right? I'm like, how does this follow, right?
It took a while for me to get it, and I don't. It might for you, it might not, but for me, the thing was the whole puddle thing. If you have a puddle that's existed forever, and the temperature has also been 0 degrees centigrade forever, then the puddle will have been frozen forever. The temperature couldn't have been freezing literally forever, but the puddle only started freezing 15 minutes ago.
Wait, that depends on whether
the conditions under which the puddle freezes have been that way forever, and the puddle has also existed forever, so it's had forever to start freezing, meaning it froze forever ago, meaning it's always been frozen.
Wait, I think I don't know if this is a
frozen,
response to what you said.
Hold on, what's that, Danny?
I don't think that I think this is a response to you, but the idea is that he accepts simultaneity with respect to cause and effect, right?
Yes,
Like Kant thinks that if there was a ball on top of a pillow that for past eternity, that there's still a cause-effect relation despite there only being one kind of state of affairs, right? That's to say the ball resting on the pillow. But I don't know if that's a reply to what you were saying or not.
I have heard William Lane Craig touch on that. I think that he put it as, if the ball has been resting on the pillow forever, then the indentation the ball causes on the pillow has also existed forever.
Right.
And
but
so
the
what that
problem
was
there
showing
is
is that the cause and the effect both exist forever, then that relation between them should also exist forever, meaning that you can't have an eternally existing cause, but the effect was only produced from it some finite time ago.
That's okay. Yeah, that's right. But the thing is that it also simultaneity, that notion only makes sense with time too, right?
Yes. And it only makes sense in an A theory of time as well.
Oh, I have to think about that, but maybe.
But that has to do with special relativity. But continue.
Okay, yeah, but like the problem, well, he actually responds to Speed's objection about time before time, and this is the response. He appeals to simultaneity, but the problem is that when if you're saying time begins when there was no time, that's a contradiction. He can't. I don't know why he responds with simultaneity. I don't get it. But that's his response to the time before time.
Yes,
they have an argument against infinity that also depends
he pulls Hilbert's Hotel, the argument that a set of things that is concrete and also actually at infinity makes no sense. Which anybody that knows infinity knows that makes no sense, because infinity isn't a limit that can be reached. And this is going to be somewhat, I don't know if tautological is the right word, but it helps sum it up. It's a limitless limit, quote unquote. It just means unbounded. So you couldn't have a set of things that is at infinity already, because infinity isn't something that you can get at. It's not something that you reach. So the concept of infinity is just that, a concept of something that continues in an unbounded sense. But anyway,
I mean, the way I understood that argument was something like infinities are weird, therefore the universe hasn't always existed. That's literally what it felt like, because even if you granted like all of, let's say there's a problem with, I mean, I have a hard time understanding exactly what you said there, but let's pretend it wasn't a problem, right? It still doesn't follow that, like, because you can't, there's there are no vacancies, yet you can have someone come into the hotel and take a room. Just because that, I don't understand the inference from that weird scenario with Hilbert's Hotel to like, therefore, no infinite time.
Because under the A theory of time, if time is infinite, if time were infinite in the past, then there would always be one moment of time before the present moment.
No, I get that. But what does Hilbert's Hotel have to do with that? I don't see
by demonstrating that. I mean, think about it. Essentially, what Hilbert's Hotel demonstrates is that if you have infinity and you add infinity to it, you have infinity. If you have infinity and you subtract infinity from it, you still have infinity. Now, suppose,
I understand
let's say that I take a set of coins, an infinite number of coins, and I number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I take away all of the coins greater than 3. So I have, in this instance, subtracted infinity from infinity, but now I get 3. So mathematically, it doesn't make sense because the operations don't follow.
Right.
Can-
No,
can
I
I-
get
can
that.
I-
And there's like the
I clarify it a
library
bit?
exam. There's library example where you have like every
Somebody
book
else
where
is trying to
there's
actually say words.
there's yeah. So anyways, the idea is that but what Craig tries to say is that because there's like sentences like there are no vacancies, but come in, we'll give you a room. Like that's supposed to be a problem or something.
Okay.
Well, in the real world, it would be. Conceptually, it's not.
Dak is trying to say
Right.
something, and Amy and Scott have not said anything for a while. So, kind of take a breath once in a while, guys, and see if somebody else.
I
wants to
still
get in.
wanted to quickly summarize
Could I
the
clarify,
simultaneity thing.
Leo? Leo,
And
could I
I'm
try to
having
clarify
fun.
for you something
Okay,
that
Go
I
ahead.
think you're trying to say? Okay,
Go ahead.
in the context in which something is infinite, adding more to it doesn't change what it is. It's still
Exactly.
infinite.
Yeah.
If you take that infinite thing and you have many of that infinite thing, that's a different context. You have to step out of that context in which it's infinite in order to do that. In order to increase infinity. Increasing infinity by a finite amount does not make it any larger.
Yeah.
Because of the
Exactly
nature
what
of
Leo
infinity.
said. I'm glad Speed let you talk.
Okay,
But,
well, I was
for the-
trying to clarify. Okay, from a physics perspective, if you can't have a universe that both has time and has an infinite amount of time. If you have a universe that has an infinite amount of time, it's not time anymore; it's space.
Well, I have no idea what that means, but I don't think I'm qualified to know what that means.
What that means is time is a progression through something. In order to progress through it, an infinite amount of time would take forever, and forever is something that you're never going to make happen. That's reaching an infinity from a finite standpoint. So if your perspective that you're looking at it from is from within the universe, as from within that dimension as a time dimension where you're traveling through the dimension and it takes time
Leo,
to get
translate.
through that dimension, you will never reach infinity in that respect, and therefore you never reach an infinite amount of time. From outside of that, if you were to look at it from outside, where that's no longer a time dimension, it's a space dimension, then yes, you could have an infinite amount of space. You're just not going to have an infinite amount of time.
Speed, you're insufferable. You know that. Anyways,
So, Leo, you take it from there. I may or may not have represented you correctly, so I just wanted to try to help clarify a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I would agree with it from the framework of the A theory of time. In the B theory of time, an infinite, a past infinite isn't much of a problem. But I wanted to clarify the whole simultaneous thing, just because both Danny and Speed were kind of touching on that. So Craig's argument would be that God's creation of time is perfectly simultaneous with time's coming into being. So his creation technically takes place in time, and thus he can create time. He likens it to a man that has been sitting down atemporally, choosing to stand up, which would instantiate time, and events would concatenate after that initial event.
Yeah, if I were a theist, I would just think God is everlasting. I would throw out the atemporal stuff out.
Well, see, Craig believes that God is atemporal sans time and temporal with time.
Yeah, then that's the weird thing too, like that he's in time and outside of time, which is like seemingly contradictory.
Seems like he's approaching a process theology view of things, which a lot of my evangelical professors were doing back in the 90s. So I wonder if he's adopted that. That's where you think God is changing because of that temporality, but he switches, and I don't know how this would work, but he switches from a temporality to eternality or transcendent mode of being. It's weird, but it was there then, and I wonder how much it's gone through the evangelical fundamental circles. I know that was kind of boring. Sorry, guys.
No,
but there are trends and effects like that from a theological perspective that different folks undergo.
Oh, I just wanted to interrupt for something irreverent, which was I love hyenas. I actually love all of Carnivora. They're the
I do not.
amazing branch. Really? Is that because of the Lion King? Hyenas.
It's because of speed. It's because of speed. Speed is like
No.
head hunter here, or head hyena pack.
We were
over
once
here.
called a pack of demonic hyenas by one of
Smokey
the brain trusts.
Nicholas Whitmire.
Oh,
Nicholas
yeah, there we go.
Oh,
Really?
Nicholas Whitmire.
Aw,
Little
but
Nicholas Whitman.
hyenas are so adorable. They get a bad rap, but they're so amazing and they're
Do you think?
smart.
Do you think Speed is adorable?
Oh yeah.
Quite adorable.
And hyena.
No. Therefore, hyenas are not adorable.
Danny, you
where
know how
did,
I feel about you.
Don't make us pull this live stream over.
You know I love you.
I will pull it over
when I
and
take
I
over
will
the world-
smack you with my ring hand.
When I take over the world, I'm throwing Speed out of the stream.
Yeah, and you know I
stream of
love
life.
you, and you know you got a spanking coming because I love you that much.
I will take over. I will dominate it one day. One day.
One day you will, yeah.
Where
With your
did our
non-naturalism bullshit.
where did our O Tangelo go?
Oh,
He was all
Tangelo,
talking about, well, the Kalam is irrefutable. I'm like, wait,
Well, you know,
what?
he started
No, what?
he's doing the a biogenesis report. Is that what he's calling it now?
Yeah,
He's called it the
Origins of
Intelligent
Life
Design report, the Creation report, the Origins of Life report. He doesn't know what he's calling
Origin
it.
of Life report. I think he stole the idea from us, but I'm not sure. What do
Oh,
you
yeah,
think?
you think? You think?
You think? He's going at it right now. He's over there somewhere. The Origin of Life report.
Apparently the compounds created or developed at the early primal Earth were not pure enough, and so he says the purity problem is a big problem for us. Although, you know, when I'm still reading that Deemer paper, he deals with it, you know, quite frankly, and I don't necessarily think, I don't know if he resolves it, but it's not like they're hiding it. You know, once again, they act like this is something that scientists aren't aware of and they don't talk about. They don't want you to know it, but they're talking about it right now, you know.
So we have Is the Cell Really a Machine Part 2 premiering at 5 p.m. That's 55 minutes from now. And so we're going to have to wrap this pretty quick so I can get my little nap. And what else? Oh, we're going to be going over Deemer and Dahmer's A Bio paper, which is what is that, 17 pages?
It's about 19 pages, not counting the references.
Right, but we're not going to read it. We're going to summarize.
Maybe we'll bring in I don't know. We'll have to talk about that after the chat.
By the way,
are you having a live stream or premiere?
Daniel J. Nicholson got back to me this morning, and he watched part of our video. He didn't watch the whole thing. He said he was really happy that we were actually reading the paper, and he said that any criticisms we have or anything that he can help us with, he'd be glad to. He did not agree to come on our Crazy Hyena channel, unfortunately.
Well,
I'm going to work on him.
Aww.
Yeah, we need to send him cupcakes and donuts and things.
Yeah, we could lure him in. We could lure him in with Demeter and molecular alchemy. You know, if he's with peers, he might.
And Dr. Dan.
Dr. Dan, yeah. Anyway, so guys,
wait, who is this guy though that you were talking about? What?
Daniel J. Nicholson, the guy that wrote the Is the Cell Really a Machine papers. He's a philosopher of biology and a molecular biologist, and he's brilliant.
I got to take off. I told Otangelo I'd be on his live stream, which should have started like 7 minutes ago, I think. So
yeah, he's live.
I want to thank everyone for having me here, and sorry about having to leave while it's still going. But yeah,
we're getting ready to wrap up.
So. We're getting ready to wrap.
I don't know how long I'll last there before, you know, either I decide to leave or he kicks me out if one of those two things happens. But you know, decided to give it a try once. And
Dak, what are you doing tomorrow at 2? What are you doing tomorrow at 2, Dak?
Not sure why.
Oh, that's sad to hear.
Yeah, I don't have anything scheduled specifically for tomorrow at all. Let alone at 2 in not knowing which time zone. So yeah, don't know. But I shall see.
At any rate, tomorrow. How do you define tomorrow, Danny?
Any
The day
rate,
after today.
You're fucking
Oh,
with you, Dan.
And Dak, it was good
Yeah.
having you on and talking with you here. It was good watching some Maddox fun.
Thanks.
That's
Thanks.
fun.
I take it you got that schedule then.
I
Yeah,
saw and all good.
I promise
we
y'all
can-
that
so
if
we
Dak
can-
was mean,
so
y'all
we
would
can
call him
plan
an
on
idiot.
that.
Yeah,
What's that?
I promise y'all that if Dak was mean, y'all would call him an idiot.
What?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Amy,
He's saying
please
if
tell
I
us
was
what's
me,
up
you'd be
next
calling me
on
an
your
idiot.
channel.
I suppose they might, but I wouldn't know what they meant by it if they did.
So I have an open challenge for anybody on John Maddox. Somebody
gotta
please
go.
bring me an argument.
For what?
Something that Maddox said that is coherent that I could dig into and counter. I mean, if John Maddox has ever made a coherent argument, I want to find it. I mean, I want to see it and I want to look at it. So
Well,
if
I
anybody
remember the
finds
one.
one of those-
You remember the one code argument he made, and Nicola just ripped that apart.
The problem with
It's so
LPP,
bad.
the problem with LPP in terms of arguing with him for me is that he uses examples and analogies like most often, and that's not necessarily an issue. You can make strong points with them, but the problem is that if you don't think that they're analogous, then you're gonna have a really hard time getting a set of premises, right?
Right.
A really, really, really hard time. But sometimes the examples and the whatever might be effective, right? But I'm more of the I need premises person, right? And less of I only use examples and analogies to educate or to get someone to understand me. But if I'm really going for an argument or a conclusion, right? I use premises. I mean, but it's just really hard to get through the examples for me. And that's not supposed to be some throwing shade. I'm just saying that's what makes it difficult for me personally, is that he might have a real point. It's just I have to go through a bunch of examples to get there.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't dig in with him. I'd love to have a talk with him about information, biosemiotics, code, all of that. But I just can't find any place to dig in. And of course, he won't talk to me. He won't come here because he can be muted here and he can't mute me. So he's afraid. I mean, he has to be able to throw you out.
He is a little pussy when it comes to
he is kind of a coward.
He's got to be in his own circle where he's got the power, or he won't have a discussion.
Okay, let's wrap this and go on live, and we'll go back room for a moment. Okay.
Oh, and do you mind if I advertise my channel?
There's a link to your channel in the description, and yes, please advertise your channel.
So thank you, Sweet and Sound, for having me on. This was absolutely a blast, and you can find me absolutely at youtube.com/Amy Newman. And we have actually been having skeptic Bible studies. We just went over Sodom and Gomorrah. Speaking of foreskin, we just went over circumcision. So that was a fun episode. And we're going to have all sorts of atheist versus theist debates. And we also want I want to do an episode on the natural origin of consciousness, because I think I have an interesting view on that.
Really fucking fun.
Amy, if you do that, will you please have me on?
Absolutely.
I happen
100%.
to know a little bit about neuroscience. I've forgotten most of what I know, but I still have remnants.
Amy,
I think is my thing.
Amy, do you know what dualism is?
A little bit.
Yeah, I'm a dualist, so you should put me.
Dualism?
You should put me against Speed in your channel, and we'll debate. And
No, Danny, you and I are going to do that privately or not privately, but publicly on this channel very soon.
No, I have you right now, Speed. I want to wring your neck right now. Oh, YouTube is crazy. I forgot. No, I'm not going to do that. That was a joke.
I'm going to coffee up. I'm going to drink like 5 cups of this espresso coffee.
That won't be enough, Speed.
Oh,
that won't be enough. Not to take
Danny, I can handle you with my little finger while I'm petting my cat.
Maybe physically speaking, but not mentally speaking.
Kitty.
Look, that. Do y'all see what I just did? That was brilliant what I just did, right? I said not physically speaking, but mentally speaking. Presumably that's intelligible, right? Because of dualism. Otherwise, if mental is physical, then I'm just saying physical.
See, Danny thinks he's brilliant. Did you see that?
I can
Dan?
explain that really quickly because I have some interesting views on the difference between mind and body. In fact, I can explain the mind and body difference in under a minute. The difference between the mind and the body is that the body is the hardware and the mind is the software. It's the operating system.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but there, I mean, I understand there's a difference between a liver and like a phone, you know. But the point is that he didn't get my joke, right?
Hey, Athena, were you the one telling me that about Julian Jaynes and his book, the something about the?
Yeah, I have that book.
Yeah, so you need to get somebody on there to advocate for that book because it is wild. I don't know.
It's a
Say
little
what?
too wild.
I'm sorry, am I too loud? I
No,
apologize.
what book? What book again?
It was.
What is the name of it? I got it here somewhere. Julian Jaynes.
Anyway, somebody in our listenership is a Julian Jaynes enthusiast.
Oh my God!
Maybe you ought to have that person on as well. But they'll have to admit who they are.
We have so much to do. We have so much to cover.
So much.
Okay, guys, we're gonna end this. We got to go on live. We're going undead now.
It was fun.
Public
Never
undead.
mind.
Goodbye.
Never mind.
Goodbye, cruel world.